Latest example, how one police department covered up an officer's misconduct, allowing him to do it again with horrifying consequences.
But I'm getting too nice with this. Ain't no way that I'm going outside. My pockets been heavy as shit. That bank is
What's poppin', M2T? It's your boy Ron on the channel to be. Don't forget to hit that like, comment, share, and subscribe button whenever you pull up to the channel. And while you at it, hit that post notification button for your boy so whenever I drop, you can hop up in the truck and roll with me. See what's poppin'. How's it going, fam? It's the end of the week. Good job, truckers. Salute, fam. Salute, fam. We made it through another week, thank God. Now it's time to sit back and relax, chill on your 34. Watching some reruns of Married to Trucking, you know what I'm saying? Hey, today we got a real good story for you guys today, and y'all already know, without any further ado, we gonna get right into it. If you see the camera shaking a little bit, don't let that deter you from what the story is about. I'm at work just like y'all is, trying to get the rest of the day out the way so I can chill on my 34. I know you guys remember 2023 in Warren, Michigan, when them two police officers, one of our trucker brothers, out of his truck, using a weapons on him. Now, these guys have been put under investigation, and I want to show you what they came up with as far as one of them particularly. Check this out.
Latest example, how one police department covered up an officer's misconduct, allowing him to do it again with horrifying consequences.
This is the story of how one police department's decision to keep an officer's misconduct quiet led him to inflict even more pain just down the road.
Open the door, you get man. You gotta bounce.
On a rainy afternoon in May of 2020, Highland Park Public Safety Officer Damian Player is called to the Burger King along Woodward Avenue. He's working a police shift on this day, responding to a call of a man loitering outside the restaurant.
Man, what part of leave do you not understand?
The man, who police would later suspect was homeless, ignored the officer's commands. So, from the front seat of his police car, Officer Player does what department policy says he shouldn't. He pulls out and takes aim. Didn't take effect, so Player gets out of his vehicle and begins following the man, who starts to cross the street while hurling expletives.
Know why I say the police? Because of you. Come on, you. Come over here and do my face. That part.
Before long, Officer Player joins in with name-calling of his own.
Your child,
After trading insults, both men appear to walk away. But just as it seems things are coming to an end, Officer Player turns around and follows the man again. He briefly assumes a stance before turning around and walking away. Then watch this. With the man's back facing the officer, Player deploys his taser again, then takes the man to the ground.
Stay down.
Watch the video again. As Player takes the man down, he hard on a concrete building, then lays on the wet pavement. The man appears unconscious even as Player tries to wake him.
Yo, wake up, man.
What does it say to you that Officer Player takes the man while he had his back to him?
James McMahon was a sergeant with Highland Park PD at the time of the incident.
It's a scary situation. Someone just hit their head. It's not a situation where we should have been involved in that. It's disappointing. I mean, that individual didn't deserve that.
The man would eventually regain consciousness and was taken by ambulance to a hospital. An internal affairs investigation concluded that Officer Player violated the department's code of conduct and taser policy.
Removed him from police services, but allowed him to work fire department.
So the solution to this misconduct was to take a police officer and turn him into a full-time firefighter.
Correct.
Was this referred to the prosecutor?
It was not.
Should it have been?
It would be today.
Next, Police Officer Damian Player.
The following year, Officer Player would join the Warren Police Department, and there to pin his new badge to his chest was then Highland Park Police Chief Kevin Coney.
Hopefully I could represent the city well, my family well.
But less than 2 years later,
Open the door, you get
Officer Player and his partner would be involved in this traffic stop, pulling this truck driver out of his vehicle. His partner threw him to the ground in the rain. Player tased him repeatedly. Making matters worse, it all happened in Centerline, outside of the officer's jurisdiction.
What I know about Damian Player, he's not a bad police officer.
Kevin Coney told us he didn't remember almost anything about Damian Player's in Highland Park, even though that's Coney responding to the scene that day. This July memo about Player's misconduct said he dangerously escalated the situation, causing injury to the subject of the investigation. These actions could place the city in a position of civil jeopardy and should not be brushed aside lightly, the memo said. It was made out to Kevin Coney.
You were aware of it.
Okay, that's what you say.
Your name's on the memo.
Okay, that don't mean that I knew about it was in his personnel file.
Do you read your memos?
Sometimes I do.
It recommended a 30-day suspension for Player and training in de-escalation techniques, but we couldn't find evidence he received either. The memo was never shared with Warren PD when they came to review Player's personnel file, and according to their background investigation, Chief Coney gave his officer a clean bill of health. He had no issues with Player, an investigator wrote, and there was no discipline in his file. In fact, when Player left Highland Park PD, Chief Coney reported he departed in good standing.
3 years later, he was charged over the very same type of conduct that Highland Park helped to conceal.
Highland Park didn't don't keep. Okay, if that's your word, it just wasn't dealt with.
It was never shared with the department that hired him.
Okay.
Damian Player and his partner are next due in court on July 11th. Player faces 2 felonies and up to 5 years in prison.
That's crazy, M2T. Now, his butt off in trial, looking like a damn fool. That happened last year. Now, here it is this year. This is a year later, September 2024. They got his butt in trial, facing charges, facing prison time for that exact incident that happened when he pulled our trucker brother up out of that truck that day. And as you guys can see, our trucker brother ain't the only one that Player been handling rough. That idiot been handling people rough, man. So now I want to show y'all this. Check this out.
When he started threatening you, how did that make you feel?
Unsafe.
Okay, why?
Because he pointed on me.
Former Warren police officers Damian Player and Carlos Taylor were in court today, charged over this alleged excessive force from July 20th of last year. On that day, truck driver Ole Deca was trying to back his semi into a loading dock in Centerline, outside of the officer's jurisdiction, when he was blocking traffic, leading the officers to respond.
Open the door now. Open the door now.
That's the voice of Officer Player, who was training his partner, Officer Taylor, that day. Police asked for Deca's license and for him to step out of his truck, but Deca didn't comply, and the scene quickly escalated.
Get out of the truck.
Deca would be forced out of his truck by Officer Taylor, then to the ground. Seconds later, Officer Player would tase him. Both officers would be fired by Warren Police. The city agreed to pay Deca $400,000 just a month after he was tased, and Player and Taylor were each charged with misconduct in office, a 5-year felony. Player was charged with another felony, assault with a...
What these officers saw was a minor traffic offense that specifically Mr. Player then on his own escalated very quickly in the initial interactions with Mr. Deca.
But attorneys for both former officers argued today that the force they used was justified, especially since the driver wasn't compliant.
These guys are out there. They're out there putting their lives on the line. And this is what they're confronted with. This. An insubordinate person who thinks that he can do whatever he wants to do.
Officer Taylor's attorney called an expert witness, a Royal Oak police detective who reviewed the body cam from that day.
When someone pulls away from an officer, is that cause for concern for a police officer's safety?
For sure. The prosecutor not like it because it doesn't look good. It didn't look good in the cameras. It didn't look good in the press. It doesn't look good everything. And that's why we're standing here. Most likely.
Y'all see how he looking up in court? How he looking, M2T? Looking like he looking. Like a damn fool. Head down, Can't even look at the camera. Can't even look at. Fool, your head wasn't down when you was sitting out hitting them boys with that issue. Steady, your head wasn't down then. Pick your head up. This is the same thing that a lot of us is speaking on when it comes to Javion. A lot of things that's going on in these police departments is something ain't right, man. And Player ain't the only one that's on trial. They just got through putting 2 other officers and finding them guilty of misconduct. Rodriguez and Edwards. Edwards had been SAing women all throughout Warren, Michigan. Gave him 32, 34 years. And Rodriguez was the one that was off in the booking area that was putting hands on the young black brother. Young black brother had his hands behind his back. Rodriguez just beat for him. Boom! You know, handling rough, hitting his head, handling rough. They gave him a year in prison and a year and 1 day in prison. Warren, Michigan have officers that is handling civilians, taxpayers any kind of way. They snatched our trucker brother out his truck just cause this man had stopped traffic so he can back up into a dock, y'all. They wasn't even in their jurisdiction. They Highland Park. They Warren. He in Highland Park. See, center line. 2 total different jurisdictions. Do these police departments be having all kind of stuff going in them? You can best believe that. Do I feel like it's some things going on in Javion case? Yeah, in a way I do. Do I feel like it's a possibility that Javion did end up taking his own life? Yeah, in a way I do. But that phone gonna tell us a whole lot more. And some more stuff. Now, everybody said, well, why haven't they released, this? Why they haven't released that? They're not going to release everything because it's still an ongoing investigation. The sheriff said they found him sitting down on the ground, leaning against the tree. The legal representatives for the family say they seen photos that we haven't seen, and they said that in that press conference they did. Y'all haven't seen this, but we seen it. Photos of him standing up. Feet wasn't dangling, but he was standing up with it around his neck. But Javion, that ain't this and this ain't that. We talking about Player right now. Player has been handling people for the longest. And y'all seen his brother Coney, whatever his name was. He went from one police department from being let go over there. When he did that to that man that was at that burger shack or wherever that he walked up on, and he hit him with the whatchamacallit, and they ended up having to call ambulance and stuff. When he did that to him, they took him off the force and put him as a fireman for the city. Then he went from being a fireman to Warren. So shout out to Channel 7 for doing an extensive investigation on Player. Did y'all even see how Player was talking to the guy? The homeless dude, I'm talking about talking bad to him. I help your daughter. I help your daughter. And old boy, and if y'all heard old boy, he was saying, see, this is the reason why I don't mess with police cause ones like you. Yeah, that type stuff. And the homeless dude tell me, F your mama, F this, and Player told him, I help your dog. Come on, man. A police officer, man. This is the stuff that's going on, y'all. I'm telling you. We gotta be careful when we dealing with these police officers, man. And Decker, which is the one that got hit with the issue that's in Warren, that's the reason why they on trial. They asked him straight up, was you in fear? He said, yeah. And he said, why? Because he pulled his whatchamacallit on me. He hit me with it. Hit him a couple of times with it. That ain't cool. Do we have a constitutional right? If we're not being arrested, if we're not being detained, do we have to identify ourselves to these officers? Do we have to give them our information if we're not being arrested and not being detained? Get in the comments and let me know that. Now, If the officer is asking you to do something and you don't do it, what is that? You know, get out your car. Give me that's a command that he's giving me. If I don't get out and do that, am I held accountable for not doing what the officer said? Or do I have rights to make certain moves according to me being a taxpayer in this country that I can abide by as well under federal law? Get in them comments and let me know what you think about this video. Big shout out to all my A1 Day ones. Big shout out to the ones that just be glancing in, seeing what's popping. And a special shout out to all my new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. I am going to get with you guys about the party. It is going down. We're just getting things together. So be patient with me. We getting it together and it is going down, all right? You already know. Until next time, it's your boy.
I just got in a whole brand new bag. I'm running around. Jewelry moving like juice. Look, I just leveled up. I thank God. Straight